Let's talk brains, specifically your future brain. Alzheimer's disease is one of the leading causes of death in women over age 65 in the United States. It's actually, I believe, the leading cause of death in Australia now. This is a huge health concern. Women make up more than 2/3 of Alzheimer's cases, and that's not just because we live longer. Estrogen, or rather loss of estrogen, plays a huge role in this. So if you're in perimenopause and nobody's talking about your brain, this episode is for you. I'm Dr. Jackson. Listen in. Welcome to Ageless and Outrageous, your favorite podcast about how to age amazingly. I'm urogynecologist and hormone and sexual health expert, Dr. Kristin Jackson. Every week, I share my over 25 years experience to guide both men and women as they age. Listen as I discuss a variety of topics, including hormone optimization, pelvic floor health, maintaining a vibrant sex life, weight gain issues, and skin, hair, and body changes as we age. It's happening to all of us, so listen for some solid scientific knowledge on how to handle these changes. Tune in for a dose of laughter, knowledge, and an honest perspective on the incredible adventure of growing older. Today, I'm looking at a 2023 study from a neuroscience journal. I'll link it in the podcast description so you can take a look for yourself if you would like. It's the most comprehensive review to date on hormone therapy and Alzheimer's disease. It pulled data from over 6 million women, combining both randomized trials and observational studies. And the focus was, does hormone replacement therapy protect against dementia, or does it increase the risk? The big punchline for this review was that timing and type matter. What's probably most important is when you start your hormone replacement therapy and what type of hormone replacement therapy you use. These two things are going to determine whether hormone replacement therapy is helpful or hurts your long-term dementia risk. So let's look at that in more detail. Midlife estrogen replacement therapy is likely to be protective against your brain. When women start estrogen in midlife, typically around age 50, the risk of Alzheimer's drops by 32%. And estrogen-only therapy, especially when started early, was consistently linked to a reduced risk of dementia. In these studies, no progestin use also equated to better brain outcomes. So women who did not have progestins in their hormone replacement therapy had better brain outcomes as compared to those who did use progestins. But remember that progestins are not bioidentical progesterone. And unfortunately, we don't have a lot of data about adding bioidentical progesterone to estrogen therapy specifically relating to brain health. That's just because there's so many progestins that have dominated the market for so many decades, and this is what was typically used in hormone replacement therapy, especially when these studies were being completed. But going back to estrogen-only therapy, overall, looking at all of these studies together, it is definitely shown that if you start the right type of hormone around menopause, it may actually help you to preserve your cognitive function as you age. So what about later in life hormone replacement therapy for brain health? People who start their hormones, say, after age 65 or beyond. In this case, when hormone therapy was started after age 65, especially in the form of oral estrogen and progestins, oral progestins, the risk of dementia increased. And this is exactly what an earlier study called the WIMS study found. They only studied women who started their hormone replacement therapy after age 65. And in the WIMS trial, they once again studied conjugated equine estrogens with or without synthetic progestins, depending on whether the patient had a hysterectomy. So we can't use this late start data to make up rules for women who are closer to age 50. That's the entire problem about hormone replacement therapy. It would be the same thing as saying sunscreen doesn't work because you only tested it on people who already had a sunburn. We simply can't apply this data to all versions of hormone replacement therapy and all ages of women, since most of our data also relates to the synthetic version of hormones. So, why does this happen? Why is there a divide with younger women using hormone and older women in relation to their brain health? It has to do with the window of opportunity, which is sometimes called the timing hypothesis. And this is true for so many things in relation to hormone replacement therapy. Your brain is extremely estrogen sensitive, especially during that transition into menopause. So starting estrogen during this window of opportunity, which is at the time when your periods are starting to break up, and then probably for at least the next 10 years. During this window of opportunity, estrogen seems to provide neuroprotective effects. It protects the brain against cognitive decline and the future risk of dementia. But if you allow that window of opportunity to close and you allow dementia changes to set in, brain deterioration to set in, hormones may not be able to go backwards and fix what's already broken. So they work much better in a protective fashion rather than in a treatment fashion. But this study also looked at observational studies, and the observational studies paint a pretty hopeful picture. Observational studies are better at looking at real world use because we're not manipulating any of the data in the study groups. And observational studies of hormone and brain health have shown a 22% reduced risk of Alzheimer's disease and a 19% lower risk of all-cause dementia. So definitely the observational studies are in favor of hormones being brain protective or at least brain positive. And the observational studies also showed that women on estrogen replacement therapy alone did better than women on estrogen plus progestins. It's just one more piece of data we have to say that we really shouldn't be using synthetic progestins. They are not offering benefit to women. Another piece of information that the observational studies showed us is that the longer duration of hormone use, especially those who used it more than 6 years, the stronger the benefit was for brain protection and brain health. So long-term use seems to be starting early, and long-term use seems to be your best option from the observational studies. So who does this information apply to? Well, certainly all women who are right now approaching perimenopause or in perimenopause or who are newly menopausal. By newly menopausal, I mean those who are within 10 years from your last menstrual period. These are women in the window of opportunity. These are the women who have the best opportunity to start their estrogen replacement therapy and get the most benefits as it relates to their brain. Estrogen started during this time period preserves brain health, reduces your long-term risk of cognitive decline, and helps you to sleep better, think more clearer, and function better right now. So it's not just all about long-term effects, it's about better effects right now too. But what if you're over 65 or you're more than 10 years from your last menstrual period and you're struggling with cognitive symptoms? That's the group of patients that I would say deserve a more complicated discussion of the risks and benefits of hormone replacement therapy. And if we're just looking at hormone replacement therapy in that group of older patients and we're relating it to brain health risk, we may not see the benefits of hormone replacement in that population. Now, I am not saying that women over age 65 or women who are more than 10 years from their last menstrual period should not be considered a candidate for hormone replacement therapy. I think that's absolutely false. They are absolutely a candidate for hormone replacement therapy. I'm just saying that one of the benefits of hormone replacement therapy, the improvement of brain health, may be blunted or decreased or lost on those women who are outside that window of opportunity. So this gets back to something that I am always saying. Every single woman deserves a balanced discussion of the risks and benefits of hormone replacement therapy for all of the parts of your body. What is it going to do for your brain? Is there more benefit than there is risk? What is it going to do for your heart? What is it going to do for your bones? What is it going to do for your overall quality of life? These benefit and risk balances change as we age. They also change from one person to the next based on your overall health, your family history, what medicines you're taking, things like that. All of those things should be taken into account. But what I take from this study is that we really want to use hormone replacement therapy for brain protection rather than brain treatment. And in order to do that, we've got to start our hormones earlier. If nothing more, we need to educate younger women, I'm talking about women in their mid to late 40s and through their 50s, that this is the time that you should be having a discussion about hormone replacement therapy. Not that you can't have that discussion when you're 65, 70 and beyond. It's just that you're going to reap the most benefits with minimal, if any, risk if you're having that discussion and starting your hormones in these younger decades. That's something that I think as a society, we do so poorly at educating our midlife women about what's to come, what they're facing, not only in terms of symptoms, but in terms of health risk as they age. This is the time when hormones shine during those decades because patients immediately feel symptom improvement and we get the best long-term effects from their health at that point. So, great study from the Neuroscience Journal, specifically looking at all the data together on hormones and the brain. Great piece of information for you to use to help to make your decision about are hormones right for you and what is the benefit and risk for me. Hope you enjoyed this topic and make sure to check out my other podcast where I talk about other ways to enhance your brain with things like TMS or transcranial magnetic therapy. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. No information from this recording is intended as a diagnosis or treatment for any disease. If you are enjoying the show, please subscribe so you don't miss any of our exciting episodes. And we love to hear from our listeners and would be grateful for your positive review. We'll talk next time.